Are there any research studies on CBD? And then does SmartPak have any of its own research to back up its CBD products? Good question.
I'm so glad that you asked that, but actually that our viewers asked that. I hear a lot that, well, there's no research on CBD, so we shouldn't use it. And that's actually not true. There's been several studies in dogs from very reputable institutions like Cornell has one or more by now, Colorado State, Auburn University. So there's several canine articles that have been published, and they deal with everything from the dose and the effects to the safety. So they're finding out the lowest therapeutic dose and the highest safe limit, or what's called pharmacokinetics.
Okay.
That's the branch of pharmacology that deals with absorption and distribution and how compounds are metabolized and eliminated from the body. So that's
there has been some research done in animals at this point.
Sorry?
There has been research done in animals.
Absolutely, yeah. And in fact, there's also research that's going on in horses, although there's very few that have been published. But when you find out that a researcher is doing a study, like there's a researcher at Tarleton State University and I think that's an arm of Texas A&M University. Mm-hmm. And she's doing a study on CBD, and you can email or call or whatever, reach out to these people and ask them about their protocol and stuff, because that's what we did, not jumping the gun here, but we have a study, and I reached out to her. There are also some grad students, like master's students, that are at Murray State University, and I want to say that's in Kentucky. Does that sound right?
Sounds right.
Okay. That doing very small studies, but we actually used a Murray State University grad student, I think it was like a poster presentation, to come up with our study, our treatment serving size or dose, and when to measure blood work afterwards, because she found that in horses, 2 hours is when CBD peaks levels in the blood.
Okay, so SmartPak has done a research study, as leading us to.
Yeah.
So now that you've kind of found out the testing, what was the research kind of based on? What were you trying to find for?
So our study was, because studies can be, one was quoted out at $800,000, and I'm like, oh, I don't have that much in my budget. So ours was a safe use of our CBD ingredient in horses. And we did it over 2 months. We used 20 horses, so there were 10 in the treatment or the treatment group, the group that got the CBD, and there were 10 in the control, otherwise known as placebo group. And they looked at, they took on day 0, you assess horses to see what the baseline is. So you give them physical exam. We drew blood. We looked at their mental status or level of sedation. I came up with a sedation score, five grade sedation score, and also ataxia, which is the level of coordination. So like a 0 would be completely coordinated, can negotiate, pulse, and then a 5 would be completely incoordinated, drunken.
Doesn't know where their legs are.
Yeah, don't know where the legs are. Yep. Those are the things we looked at. And I think the best thing for you to do is to read the quote from the researcher, Dr. Frank Andrews, it was Louisiana State University.
We love Dr. Andrews.
That way I won't get anything wrong. He said, in a double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized study. So those are all the words you want to hear to know how rigorous or robust, if the study was high quality. Right?
Okay.
Investigating the safe use over time of the particular CBD ingredient found in supplements from SmartPak. Results showed no statistically significant changes in common health parameters, blood work, physical exam findings, or in levels of alertness, that's the sedation scale I was telling you about, and in coordination or ataxia. There were also no reports of adverse events. Now, wait, before you go on, the thing I'm supposed to say, whenever I mention that quote, I'm supposed to read also, LSU does not endorse any products. So whenever we have a blog or a landing page or an ad, anything appears, that little asterisk, LSU does not endorse products will always appear. So we want to make sure there's no conflict of interest. And he did this, he was truly, blinded. He didn't know what group was which until the very end when we unblinded him.
That's fantastic. And I'm glad I didn't cut you off for the little asterisk. But
Get
I
me
think
in
what's so
trouble.
important about this is like having it as a safety study. I think we as horse, owners are always so afraid to feed a horse something new, regardless of what it is. And now also being like a new ingredient out there in the supplement world. So having this, safety study that was done, by such a reputable place like LSU, it just gives people a little more reassurance that they can try it with the horse to see if they have some benefit there.
Yeah, we felt like when we launched a CBD product that having, and I'm going to just correct you here, this is an area we have to be very strict in the regulatory speak. And so a safety study would be tied to a drug because the FDA, if you want a new drug approval, people spend 10 years and millions of dollars doing safety and efficacy studies. For the supplement, we did a study on the safe use. So there's just one small study. And I did talk to the FDA before this study, and I asked them what they would prefer in a safety study. And because it was more along the lines of the six-figure one that they mentioned, ours is not a safety study. It is a study of the safe use of CBD in horses, but it didn't go to the expense and the time of what the FDA requires when you get an actual drug approved.
So one's kind of a protocol for drug use, one, this was a different one just because it was for a supplement.
Yeah, we feel that it did its job in informing customers that this ingredient has some research behind its use in horses, and we will publish it. It can take up to a year to publish a research study. I think this one might go faster though, because the scientific journals out there are clamoring for studies, legit studies like this one in their journals to stand out from the crowd, So I think that rather than us having to submit and hope we get, accepted, they're going to be coming to us and saying, please give us your study. So we'll see.
Well, hopefully that gets taken care of soon, but thank you for clearing that up, and I can't wait to read it myself.